The path to a peg. pDAI is a cult within a cult. Stablecoin, super cycle, first cycle unicorn. It's an unstable coin. I'm wearing the necklace right now. It went to zero twice. Decentralized Me is a community member of pDAI and PulseChain. He has released a video called The Path to Peg. He actually also said, this is wild. If it's, take this with a grain of salt, okay? There's been story twists and everything at the yin yang. He said this is his last video before the peg. How pDAI achieves its peg in a post-maker world. Now, what's been happening today? Hopefully the price continues to rise up, but pDAI hits 0.46 cents. Hopefully it keeps on cranking up here. I mean, like, maybe by the time you see this video, pDAI is only, friends, it's only around 10%, and then it's recovered officially all of the FUD. Maria Glitter Pants, Richard Hart spitting on pDAI, and Cattie. So we got Cattie's sorcery ring. We've now collected Richard Hart's top hat. We got plus 10 luck, plus 15% evasion. And then Maria's going to drop his glitter pants. He's probably going to give us some nice attributes out there. And then, like, actually, like, what the hell? We've actually recovered absolutely everything. I'm going to go through. We're going to watch some of Decentralized Me's video now. And I'll be honest, friends, I need to go through it more times. So you and I, we're going to go on this journey together. So it starts with the introduction, right? Remember, initially, PulseChain MakerDAO was alive. It was working. We thought the story was going to play out such that an anonymous actor was going to grab all the tokens, control everything, and then allow the vaults to be opened and have the Hyperloop that way. Well, that's what we initially thought. Then there was a story twist. The story twist was Cattie, Purple Witch, was allowed to beat the auction here. So Cattie comes out of nowhere, and then Cattie was allowed to win the auction. And then she basically gets all the tokens, mints pDAI, and then dumps it to zero. And we're like, what's going on? Now, a lot of people, we all got spooked. It was very, very rough, and a lot of people left. But then we sat here and we're like, this makes no sense, bro. Why would one of the addresses who could steal the money, a PulseChain pioneer, why would they, if they were malicious, why would you let somebody else steal the money? Why don't you steal the money first? This makes no sense. And that's why we all believe that there's something else going on. There is more than this that meets the eye. Because it makes no sense, bro. Like, for example, how realistic is it that someone robs your home, they go into the vault, you got 10 bars of gold, and they just stand there looking at the gold, and they don't rob you. And then another thief walks in, and they go, hey, Larry, what are you doing? Robbing this guy? Cool, let me take those 10 bars of gold. That's very unlikely. It means something's going on here. Let's start with Mr. Decentralized Me.
For years, we tracked the movements on Maker. We learned its mechanisms and understood the Hyperloop implications of backing pDAI with the OA bags. But then suddenly, the script was flipped. Maker had an exploit. A Vietnamese kid was extracting value from the auction system within Maker. Then came along a purple-haired witch, promising to cast a proposal on Maker to stop pDAI's exploit. But she lied. Instead, when auctions went live, she took over Maker and shut it down. She then minted 22 billion pDAI, stole $500,000 from the Maker vaults, and dumped it on the market, whilst pumping her own tokens she believed were part of the plan to peg pDAI. Gone were the days of the Hyperloop. We were now in uncharted waters, with no clear path to peg.
Do you remember this picture, friends? This was what we believed the Hyperloop, what would happen. But then remember, in the Hyperloop, we needed still some sort of liquidity bridge. That's why I thought what was going to happen is we're going to wake up and see some pDAI farms, and then it was going to give yield to other stable coins, and people are going to bridge in, and then they thicken up the bridge because people are putting their stable coins, like their CBDC stable coins, Tether and USDC. We thought that the bridge would get thicker and thicker and thicker, basically the liquidity pool. And then as everyone minted pDAI, you could hop through that bridge. You could hop through that liquidity bonding, and then everybody would naturally pump up the back. That's what we thought would happen. But then we had that twist, right, where Cattie comes and everything's like, goodbye, MakerDAO. They're like, hey, MakerDAO, more like MakerDAI. That's what happened. And then we're like, okay, well, really did go to zero. Man, that was tough. Okay, now it brings us to who we are now. So the next phase is speaking about how do these lending platforms work. So there are two big working DeFi protocols on Ethereum. And one of them is the biggest in actual all of crypto. It's Aave on the left-hand side. Aave, friends, it's one of the unicorns of crypto. Aave did its, you can see how impressive it is. If you check out the price chart, Aave, friends, from the bottom, this return, right, this is in the past cycle. From the bottom, friends, Aave dropped 99.3%. And then from the bottom, it ran up a whopping 2000x. And now it's a darling of crypto. Okay, so it's the first DeFi lending market. We literally have no more need for banks. We actually have proper DeFi. Also, it's joined with Compound. They both have their own lending markets. Okay, so let's continue. Decentralized. Let me just explain a bit.
Users deposits assets into the protocol. In this example, $100 worth of DAI into Aave. Aave then mints the user $100 worth of Aave DAI, or aDAI, making aDAI a derivative of DAI. Aave then takes that deposited DAI and puts it to work in lending pools. Users are able to take out loans from that deposited DAI. They had to deposit collateral to obtain that loan. To keep their claim over their deposited collateral, they have to pay interest to Aave, which, after taking a cut, pays out interest to the user who put up the DAI to be loaned out. Over time, the user's amount of aDAI increases as they earn interest. Compound works in a similar way, with one key difference. Its derivative is Compound DAI, or cDAI. Instead of paying out interest to users in cDAI tokens, it instead holds on to the interest earned and uses it to justify increasing the price of cDAI. So users who put up cDAI to be loaned out don't receive more cDAI tokens, but instead see their cDAI steadily increase in value over time. So aDAI is paid out in tokens, while cDAI's interest is transferred in price appreciation.
So that's interesting. So remember, friends, right now, so, you know, with Aave and stuff, there's different tokens they denominate with the little A, and then the word like A Ethereum. That's Aave's Ethereum, or aDAI, aDAI. Now we have cDAI. That's the Compound one. Okay, so I'll just write it out here for you. So you've seen, right? So we've seen right here. So you have, you know, the cDAI. That's what you'll see. cDAI. Yeah, written in. You actually see it like in capital letters. cDAI, and you'll have aDAI. Right now, did you notice how? Very interesting. I did not know that how they give the reward out is different. Aave with the aDAI just gives you more tokens. Okay, so your Aave aDAI, it gives you more tokens. So let's say you used to have 100,000 of it, and it's giving you yield. Let's say the borrowing rate is 12%, so it's like you're getting a 1% per month. Yeah, so you'll get like 1,000 aDAI on the Aave platform, and remember it's at $1 every month. So you have 100,000. Next month you have 101,000. One after that, 102,000. Compound, the other DeFi protocol, which works already. That's why this is very important. Richard Hart usually takes what works in the system, doesn't make new stuff. Compound works differently. Compound, instead of giving you more tokens, it makes the price of what you earn go up, which is very interesting. Because, I mean, I don't know pDAI's grand plan, but wouldn't it be wild if Richard makes the stablecoin such that it's more like a CPI index? So the CPI, so your baseline, you start at $1, and then every year there's yield paid out, but instead of handing out everybody more tokens, the yield is used to buy up the price. And the thing basically never goes down. I wonder if that's possible. Maybe that's what's some sort of theory behind it. I don't know if I'm on the right path, but wouldn't that be cool? You basically have an up-only stablecoin. But is it really a stablecoin? Yeah, but it's a bond. So you buy the bond, and then the yield is used to just purchase itself. Like that. Now, I don't know if we're just talking theoretics, but that's why cDAI works differently. That's why I guess cDAI, that's why we're going to talk more about this component. Remember, aDAI, Aave is giving you more tokens of the supply, but the cDAI Doesn't give you more tokens. It's repricing what you have. It's making it worth more. Let's follow through Mr. Decentralized Me. He's going to speak about the buying and the selling part.
What happens when you sell a derivative on the market? Well, they're pegged assets. When you sell a pegged asset, it increases the price of the token you are buying in a liquidity pool. Simultaneously, it does also decrease the price of the pegged asset locally in that pool. Arbitrage bots then rebalance those pools, reflecting a price increase in the token being bought and returning the pegged asset to its peg price. Bots level the price of volatile assets across the market by locating other liquidity pools where it is lower in price, buying the token there and selling it into the pool where it's priced higher. But for pegged assets, our bots see the token is priced differently to its intended peg. They buy it, then go to the governing protocol and sell it at the peg price, making a profit. And that's how pegged assets keep their peg, including derivatives. A governing protocol checks to see if it has enough collateral backing its pegged asset. Our bots collect the pegged asset from liquidity pools where it is priced differently and trade it with the protocol at the pegged price, making a profit by doing so. So pegged tokens do fluctuate locally in liquidity pools. They are then returned to their pegged price through arbitrage bots, quickly capitalizing on the price difference in the pool versus the price on offer at the protocol. So why are we talking about Aave and Compound in detail now?
So that mechanism of the buying and the selling, just know that, okay, these buttons are set up. Bots basically just keep them all in line. Okay, so, but they only do it if they make money. Okay, that's the most important part. So you're already seeing there are mechanisms that, you know, don't worry about understanding the deep intricacies. Just know that, oh, I've observed there's a system that already works. I wonder if we could push a few buttons and get it to work for PulseChain. That's the most important concept. Now we're going to go through some of Richard Hart's mysterious posts.
It's triggered. It doesn't do what people think it does.
So this is Richard Hart saying, he's talking, remember friends, when pDAI was collapsing, why can't MakerDAO be fixed? Because the emergency shutdown function doesn't even do what people think it does. Do you see? It's basically, it doesn't even do what you think it does. Friends, I'm telling you, I think he might be a different species of alien, but I think he's also alien. This guy thinks in like 3D. No, not even, he thinks in 4-dimensional chess. It's like he's invented this narrative in his head and he knows how retardios, you and me, are going to be asking questions like it's step 7 out of the 15-page story saga. So weird, man. How do you know? That's so weird, man. Like, friend, this is like deep. This is deep chess level stuff. This is not, the more I learn about this, we always used to joke like, you know, yeah, he's playing 3-dimensional chess with the chef because he wants to order kebab, but they've only got chicken today. Okay. Nah, it goes deeper than that, man. There's tomato and mayonnaise sauce on this kebab. It's not 3D or 4D chess. This is like 9-dimensional chess. I've never met anybody who can think 3D perspective like that. This is not normal, man. This is next level.
So, over on PulseChain, we currently have a maker that's closed for business. But we also have DAI's lending platforms, Aave and Compound. Let's come back to that in a moment. First, let's look at how they operate over on Ethereum with a working maker. Thanks to a little nudge, 99 discovered that Maker has a direct integration with both Aave and Compound. Maker, the issuer of DAI, is integrated with its lending platforms. This integration allows for the movement of DAI between platforms. Maker is able to mint DAI, then lend it out to its lending platforms, who in turn lend out the DAI and get paid interest. The protocols are then able to mint their respective derivatives and pay Maker the interest they owe on their loan. Why does Maker have this integration? What is the benefit of being able to directly supply its lending platforms with DAI? Interest rates. By providing DAI directly to its lending platforms, Maker is able to maintain a target interest rate for DAI. When DAI is being oversold on the market, it means there is a large dependency on DAI in its protocol, as arbitrage bots are rapidly buying up cheap DAI from liquidity pools and coming to Maker to redeem it for DAI at the $1 pegs price. By increasing interest rates, sellers of DAI are incentivized to stop selling and instead park their DAI in its lending platforms to earn the high interest. This stops DAI being oversold in liquidity pools, whilst also increasing the amount that is able to be redeemed. So we've now gone through what the integration is and why it exists. But what does it mean for pDAI?
So, another revealing of the map here. You have friends who play Elden Ring or GTA, you go into the unexplored parts of the map and the map opens up. Or it's the same thing in World of Warcraft, same thing, right? So, MakerDAO is integrated with Aave and Compound. It's like pure DeFi. It's its own sovereign nation, you know? It's wild, man, that we do all this. The thing, though, is I think Richard's making it cool because these things have always been around, but Ethereum guys, so the people who make this stuff, you know, friend, they're not marketers. They don't talk. They just code. They don't go around saying this is the greatest invention ever. The only time they get praise is when Davey Soy Hoffman or Ryan Soy Adams praise them on Bankless. You know, they go, wow, we've invented something really cool here. Like, bro, what an understatement. You know what I mean? It's like saying, wow, Lionel Messi, you're a pretty good soccer player. You know what I mean? Like, bro, like what an understatement of the century. We've just literally, friends, you know, JP Mosquito, Citibugs, all these other big banks, we've literally just coded the whole bank. We've literally coded 15 of their office floors and all their infrastructure. We put it into some sentences of code and now we're just doing it ourselves. Do you understand how like monumentally huge this is? We've taken the very fabric of finance, slapped it on the blockchain with some code, and now it just runs itself. Yeah, this is huge. So what does it mean for pDAI though? We're going to continue. So now let's continue.
We went through how Maker can deposit DAI into lending platforms and earn aDAI and cDAI. As it holds these derivatives of DAI, it's also able to redeem the derivatives for the underlying DAI that backs them. So this integration allows for the movement of DAI and its derivatives directly between platforms, in either direction. Maker has a claim over DAI in Aave and Compound. Aave has a claim over DAI in Maker. And so too does Compound. So, back to our situation over on PulseChain. Whilst Maker did have its emergency shutdown module triggered, this integration remains. The ability to move pDAI and its derivatives between these platforms still exists. Aave and Compound still have claims over DAI held within Maker. When the ESM was triggered in Maker, it wrote off its debt of pDAI owed to Aave and Compound. That's not what would happen in a normal shutdown. What should have happened is Maker's vaults become frozen, system accounting stops, and then redemption processes should have kicked in to begin making each protocol whole again. Maker should have began repaying its lending platforms the pDAI it owed, but it didn't. What does this mean? The DAI within Maker that's been built up in its bad debt, or woe, is effectively stranded, but its lending platforms have a claim on that pDAI. pAave and pCompound governance can decide they want that pDAI they're owed. What would happen if they were to do this?
So, just a quick pause. Remember, friends, I made a video on 99 Capital where basically showed how there's a debt now claim. There's a debt, right? And the protocols have to come and claw it back. That's what they're speaking about right now. So, Maker, so that's what I was thinking, like, where's it all come from? How'd it work? Beep, boop, beep, boop. Just a brain's frying. But now you get to see MakerDAO, it's connected to Compound and Aave, and they have claims on each other's debts. Because Maker got shut down, right? It goes, oh, we've still got outstanding debts because, you know, there was all this economic activity. So that's what we're actually referring to here. We'll continue.
We'll go through using Compound as the example. But first, remember, Maker has a lot of debt in the form of pDAI built up within its system, known internally as WOE. Compound has cDAI reserves, which, when the direct integration is in full swing, represents the pDAI that was minted by Maker and then deposited into Compound lending pools in exchange for the cDAI. So what happens if cDAI reserves are larger than WOE? It means the amount of pDAI held in Compound is greater than the amount of bad debt Maker created internally. It means that Maker versus Compound is in a position to become solvent. By that I mean Compound has enough assets to cover Maker's liabilities, or in other words.
So just quickly, right? If he owns a lot of the cDAI, it's like, oh, I'm not insolvent, I'm actually solvent. I can pay off the debt. That's the key. That's what they're referring to, right?
In other words, it's debt. Let me put it plainly. Compound wants the pDAI it's owned to help back its derivative, cDAI. And with the amount of cDAI in Compound being greater than the pDAI held within Maker, through this direct integration, it has a right to what it's owed. Should Compound's governance decide to call on that debt, they would release the pDAI from Maker and begin receiving backing for its cDAI. This would begin to give cDAI some value. It can then be routed through to increase the price of pDAI, which in turn increases the value of cDAI's backing collateral and increases its value. And we have this flywheel of price appreciation. But if the goal is to peg pDAI, the pioneers can't simply just sell cDAI on the market to buy pDAI. Why is that? Because that would put more pDAI back on the market. Why? Because it would put pDAI into the hands of arbitrage bots who would be buying up cDAI in liquidity pools and redeeming it for pDAI in the Compound protocol. So, how would the pioneers be able to get pDAI to its $1 price target? There are a few steps here. cDAI itself is accepted collateral within the Compound protocol. First, they deposit cDAI and mint cETH. Why cETH? You may already know that Wrap Pulse is one-to-one convertible with pWETH. Well, it turns out cETH is also convertible one-to-one with pWETH. Once they have their cETH, they can convert into pWETH for free, and then into Wrap Pulse. It's Wrap Pulse they'll use to buy up pDAI. Wrap Pulse is heavy with liquidity. pDAI is light, making it easy to lift.
I'm just going to pause it there, friends. My brain's toasty and fried. This little peanut brain salt crystal. I'm trying to still work this out. Maybe by the time we watch it a few times, like, how does this thing, why does it keep going up? How does this happen? What if someone just dumps it? That's why in my mind, that's why I'm just trying to compute, like, okay, if pDAI gets to 10 cents and someone with 100 million pDAI dumps, that's 10 million gone, okay? We need to put 10 million back into the pool. What if another guy just dumps 10 million? You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to just compute. Like, how does this solve for that? I still, maybe the answer's in there. I just need to watch it another 19 times. I don't know, okay? I can't solve for you. I'm just telling you, I didn't know at the start. I don't know now. I'm still holding, okay? Billy Marcus sold Doge in 2015 for like 30 grand for his shitty on the Civic. Then it went on to grow into like 1.5 billion. Total regret. Went up 4,000x, okay? If you sold Bitcoin for 300 bucks back when Raoul Pal was buying and Tim D. Raper was buying, well, guess what? They couldn't tell you how it was going to end up on BlackRock's balance sheet, but it did, okay? Ethereum, friends, Vitalik sold his Ethereum. He sold it for $200,000. He sold a big, quite a chunk of it when Ethereum went to $10. Okay, sold 200K worth. That was, I think, 10 years living costs for him. So, yeah, you know what I mean? You don't know it was going to end up also on BlackRock's balance sheet too. You couldn't know that path. He's selling at $10. Yeah, BlackRock's buying it at 2,500. Now we'll be buying it again at 4,000. Do you see what I mean? So you don't know these direct paths. You don't need to know all of these. If you kind of did, you probably wouldn't believe it anyway. But I'm just here to show you having question marks is all part of the process. And that's why we've got to play some angel music just to accompany us during these times, okay? So you don't have to get all of these. I know sometimes we go through this stuff. We're like, what, up, down, left, right? I don't know. I don't know either, bro. I don't know either. It's speculation. Let's continue.
And remember, the effect is to lift the price of pDAI, and therefore cDAI, which enables them to mint more cETH and repeat the cycle. So there isn't just one, but two flywheels in action here. Self-reinforcing cycles that bring pDAI to its $1 price target.
So if you can see on the bottom right, cDAI goes into Compound, and then I guess mints into cETH, Compound ETH, which then can be transferred one-to-one into pWeth, which is just PLS, Pulse, which is then used to buy, I guess, the pDAI. But that's what I don't get, to be honest. Like, I don't know, because peanut brain, right? Peanut brain. How does the cDAI, how is this within liquidity, how is it allowing you to use the Pulse to bring pDAI up? Are we not just limited by the liquidity? That's why I'm asking questions. So I don't have all the answers. Are we just not limited by the liquidity in Pulse, which is like $2 million? You know, like you need to hit $1. You need, I mean, there's 44 billion tokens. You know, if Richard even owns 80%, that's still 8.8 billion left over. Is a couple of $1 million in the Pulse liquidity. That's like there's something out here that maybe I just don't get, or I just don't know. Maybe there's more question marks. I'm not meant to know all the answers. Okay, that's how I'm navigating it. Let's continue with Mr. DCME.
Now, at this point, you might be thinking, should I buy some cDAI? The reality is we don't know what price it will go to. It's currently being infinitely minted whenever anyone buys it. You're essentially buying a share of that pool of cDAI.
I want to warn you again, be careful of just new shiny coins and stuff out here. pDAI is a thesis, pDAI is a spear, pDAI is the altcoin. Okay, so in part of this thesis, don't think, oh, there's another new coin, I got to get in. No. You don't have to touch any of that stuff, okay? Hopefully it does go up or whatever it is. It's thin liquidity, it's like $9 of liquidity or whatever it was. Just, you don't have to come to this new shiny object syndrome thing out here, right? This thing doesn't change. Let's continue.
This stuff's complicated enough. You know where pDAI is going. So the pioneers are going to double flywheel pump pDAI to $1. How does it keep its peg once it's there? Does it need Maker? Well, what are the ingredients needed to maintain a peg token? You need a protocol, collateral that justifies the pegged asset's price, and arbitrage bots participating in those liquidity pools. We've got all those things. If pDAI trades below $1 in a liquidity pool, our bots will buy it, lifting its price locally in that pool. They can then redeem that $1 worth of cDAI within Compound. They could choose to stop there. They've already made a profit whilst sat in cDAI.
See, I personally, I'd love someone to come and complain, to just explain to me. So, like, if someone sells $50 million of pDAI, let's say, okay, it brings it up to $1. They sell it at 90 cents, right? How do our bots buy $50 million worth? Like, where do they grab $50 million to replenish it for them? That's why I just don't know. I don't know where all of it's coming from, personally. Good thing is, like, pDAI's not even 1 cent. So you can kind of think about, look, it's most likely as well, friends. I've told you this. These answers become more clear and revealed if pDAI is like 10 cents, okay? If pDAI is 10, 20, 30 cents, you know, all these question marks, I think there's more signs. I know, okay? It's just, you don't get a free lunch, yeah? The market just, you don't just go to 15 cents, 25 cents, 30 cents pDAI, and it's like, oh, I don't know what's going on. It's not like that. There's more information, more confirmation, more stuff on chain, more liquidity. You're seeing stuff in action, right? Like the market's pricing it in. And right now, you don't get certainty. You don't know how this stuff's going to work out. I don't know. There could be more twists and turns. Look at the last big series of twists and turns we had. So you got to understand that the market's smart. It knows what to price in. If there really was a believable, understandable, knowable path how this happens, it wouldn't be at 0.4 cents. It'd be at 40 cents. It'd be literally 100x higher. Yeah, so that is another appreciation we have to have. But I guess we'll see. Let's continue.
Or they could choose to end up being back in pDAI. Either way, they restore the peg locally in liquidity pools and make a profit doing so. If pDAI trades above $1 in a liquidity pool, they do the reverse, getting pDAI at the correct price within Compound and redeeming it for cDAI or cETH. and selling pDAI into the liquidity pools to bring pDAI back down to its peg locally in those liquidity pools. So you see, Maker might be closed, but the path to peg is very much open. But what about our Hyperloop? Here's what I think we can expect to see next. There is an operational version of Maker that exists on PulseChain, currently called Pi Maker. This fork of Maker appeared at the exact moment Maker was shut down, and it has all the upgrades Maker released in its code since PulseChain launched. Someone's gone through a lot of effort developing this, then coincidentally launches it right when Maker is ESM'd, and then silence. Why spend all that time and energy creating an upgraded Maker on PulseChain, only to then not advertise it? We've had nothing. Apart from a few hours where, on the front-end code, Pi was changed to pDAI, and then back again. I don't believe this is how things remain. I think this will emerge as the new Maker. A vault-pegged stablecoin within its own protocol is the most effective at managing a peg, and it gives us all what we've come to love and understand, our Hyperloop. pDAI pegs, resulting in an enormous injection of buying power. The Hyperloop kicks off. All of PulseChain skyrockets. The peg sends shockwaves throughout all of crypto, media coverage, exchange listings, fresh capital. Then the Forgotten Farms make a reappearance, increasing liquidity whilst driving parity. And it's at this point we're reminded of PulseChain's true purpose: mass migration. The path to peg is open. pDAI.
So this is an old post from Richard Hart, I think in 2022 or 2021. Very suspicious. I figured out a way to transfer value without transferring coins. I'll let the regulators finish shooting themselves in their feet before I tell you how. Interesting. Transferring value, huh?
His place in the market has been secured. The slingshot has been loaded. Now all that's left is to pull the trigger.
Somebody says that they're building a MakerDAO replacement so that we have like DAI on PulseChain.
You could get a God candle at any moment.
Let's listen to that again. Richard literally says it.
Pull the trigger.
Somebody says that they're building a MakerDAO replacement so that we have like DAI on PulseChain.
Someone says they're building a MakerDAO replacement. So we have DAI on PulseChain. When we first heard that, we're like, oh, it's a DAI. No, actually someone's building a MakerDAO replacement. So is it the Pi stuff? Be careful about connecting to any of these things, friends. It's very, obviously everything just got to take extreme caution. Let the test guinea pigs go and play around with them. I'm not touching anything, all right? So parts of the peg, it's always controversial. Still, you got to understand, like, I would just be honest, bro. Where's the liquidity? You know, if we had the answer, the price would be higher. Okay, because that's you got to ask. Like, it's just simple. How someone sell 10 million of their pDAI for $1? Like, just, you know, there's probably more pieces to this puzzle. Like I said, there's more question marks that'll be revealed with more certainties. And like I say, well, when you're buying discounts, when you're fading the crowd, the soy cabal, yeah, you don't need dollar, bro. You know what I mean? Like, friends, from the gravestone emoji, it's up 15x. From the gravestone emoji, a 10x will be 329x. But it's damn good that we have a stablecoin super cycle and all these narratives playing out at the same time here. So, you know, let me know what you think. Do you know exactly how it's going to work out? Oh, I don't. Question marks everywhere. I'm just a believer, all right? Like I said, when we were capitulating, I said, I am going to exercise my free rights to use PulseX, a decentralized exchange. I will publish mathematics on the internet and I will buy coins that I want to buy. Code is speech. Buying and selling is executing your free speech. Nobody can stop you. And I did do that, didn't I? And a lot of you did that too. And you're actually richer for it, which is funny. Okay, so obviously the story is continuing now. If pDAI hits 1 cent, we will have the global pegging event where literally we're going to have 200 or 300 people changing their avatars to my peg nipples. That's going to be one hell of a marketing campaign. Like, we've never seen that, bro. We've never seen that. And the funniest part is, all it takes is one of these non-Pulse chain, just one of the normies out there. They know what DAI is. And they're like, guess what? Look at this thing. It hits straight away, right? They don't have to think about 15-page word salad. You know what I mean? So I guess the story continues now. The most beautiful part of all, no matter what happens from here, hey, we went to zero for a second time, and look where we are right now. Like, we're just ready to open the next chapter. Like, subscribe, belly button more. Catch you in the next one.